Imagine this. You're a successful 49-year-old woman, glowing with the joy of an unexpected pregnancy after years of building your empire. Your billionaire husband whispers sweet nothings about your future family, but in secret, he's building a new life on a luxurious clifftop in Monterey with his younger mistress, Vanessa. The shock hits when you drive 6 hours to surprise him, only to witness them sharing an intimate kiss in the doorway of the house they bought together. How long, you demand later in a tense confrontation. 3 months, he confesses, tears in his eyes. I love her, but I love you too. Your world crumbles like that very cliff edge, but instead of falling, you rise filing for divorce, launching a reality show to document your comeback and turning betrayal into unbreakable strength. Welcome to Billionaire's Cliffside Deception, Pregnant Wife's Astonishing Comeback and Empowering Triumph. A true inspired tale of resilience, revenge through success, and midlife empowerment that will leave you inspired. Stick around to see how Sophia transforms heartbreak into her greatest victory, proving that at any age you can rewrite your story. If this hook has you hooked already, hit that like button. If you've ever overcome betrayal, share with a friend who needs this motivation. Drop a comment with your thoughts on what Sophia should do next, and subscribe for more empowering stories that shock and uplift. Don't miss the full series dropping soon. Sometimes the most beautiful cliffs hide the deepest deceptions, but every fall can become a flight when you spread your wings wide enough. Sophia Reynolds stood at the floor-to-ceiling windows of her Chicago penthouse, watching the morning sun paint Lake Michigan in shades of gold and amber. At 49, she possessed the kind of confidence that only comes from weathering life's storms and emerging stronger. Her honey blonde hair, perfectly styled despite the early hour, caught the light as she absently touched her still flat stomach where a 6-week miracle was growing. Another miracle at my age, she murmured to herself, a smile playing at her lips. Take that biological clock. The irony wasn't lost on her. After building a successful marketing consultancy from scratch, surviving 2 decades in the cutthroat world of corporate America, and finally finding love with billionaire real estate mogul Ethan Reynolds at 45, she was now expecting her first child. The pregnancy had been a shock, a beautiful, terrifying, life-altering shock that filled her with equal parts excitement and bewilderment. Her phone buzzed with a text from her assistant. Morning show wants to interview you about entrepreneurship after 40. Interested? Sophia laughed, typing back, after 40. Honey, I'm just getting started at almost 50. She paused, then added, but maybe wait until after I figure out how to work a baby monitor. Pretty sure that's more complex than my last product launch. The self-deprecating humor had become her trademark. In a world obsessed with youth, Sophia Reynolds had made her mark by embracing every year, every line, every hard-earned piece of wisdom. Her TEDx talk, The Power of the Late Bloomer, had garnered over 3 million views, and her Instagram account, that's Sophia Reynolds Reel, attracted followers who craved authenticity over airbrushed perfection. Good morning, beautiful. Ethan's deep voice carried across the room as he emerged from their master suite, already dressed in a perfectly tailored charcoal suit. At 55, he was distinguished in that way, that money could polish silver at his temples, gym-toned physique, and the kind of confidence that came from never hearing the word no. Sophia turned her heart, still skipping slightly, when she looked at him. Even after 4 years of marriage, Ethan Reynolds could make her feel like a giddy teenager. Morning handsome, ready for another day of conquering the real estate world. He crossed the room in 3 long strides, pulling her into his arms. The familiar scent of his cologne, something expensive and woodsy, enveloped her as he kissed her forehead. The only world I want to conquer is the one where you and our little surprise are happy and healthy. The words should have warmed her heart. They did mostly, but something in his tone felt rehearsed, like lines from a script he'd memorized but hadn't quite internalized. Sophia pushed the thought away. Pregnancy hormones, she told herself. Everything felt heightened these days. Speaking of our surprise, she said, pulling back to study his face, I scheduled our first appointment with Dr. Martinez next Friday. The one who delivered the mayor's twins, I figured, with your schedule. Friday, Ethan's brow furrowed. Babe, I have that site visit in Monterey. The clifftop development, we've been planning this for months. Sophia felt a flicker of disappointment. Can't Jake handle it? He's your partner for a reason. Jake doesn't have my eye for coastal properties. You know how important this project is. He cupped her face in his hands, his thumb stroking her cheek. But I promise the next appointment, I'll move mountains to be there. She nodded, forcing a smile. This was the life she'd signed up for: brilliant, driven, successful, and perpetually busy. Of course, the Monterey Cliff project, the one you've been working on with. She paused, trying to remember the name of the interior designer he'd mentioned. Vanessa Chen. She's handling all the aesthetic elements. His answer came quickly, smoothly. Very talented. Worked on some high-profile properties in Malibu. Something in the way he said the name, too casual, too practiced, made Sophia's marketing instincts twitch. After 25 years of reading people and situations, she'd developed a finely tuned radar for when something didn't quite add up. But before she could analyze the feeling, Ethan was kissing her goodbye, promising to call later, rushing out to conquer another day. Alone again, Sophia returned to the window. The lake stretched endlessly before her, and for a moment she felt very small in the vastness of it all. Pregnancy, she was learning, was like standing at the edge of a cliff, exhilarating and terrifying in equal measure. Her phone buzzed again. This time it was her business partner and closest friend, Maya Chen, no relation to the mysterious Vanessa, despite the shared surname. Maya's text made her laugh out loud. Emergency lunch meeting required. Topic: how to tell your business partner she's glowing like a pregnant goddess without being weird about it. Also, I may have accidentally agreed to a reality show. On my way, Sophia typed back. And you're fired from making decisions without me. Also, thank you for the goddess comment. I'll take it. As she gathered her things, Sophia caught her reflection in the hallway mirror. She did look different, not just the subtle changes that early pregnancy brought, but something in her eyes. A contentment she hadn't felt in years, mixed with an anticipation that went beyond mere excitement. At 49, Sophia Reynolds was finally going to be a mother. If only she knew that across town her husband was at that very moment having coffee with a 35-year-old interior designer who had plans that extended far beyond clifftop developments. Maya's office occupied the top floor of a converted warehouse in Chicago's trendy West Loop, all exposed brick and floor-to-ceiling windows. Their marketing consultancy, Reynolds Chen Creative, had grown from a two-woman operation in Maya's basement to a full-service agency with 12 employees and clients ranging from tech startups to Fortune 500 companies. Okay, Spill, Maya said the moment Sophia walked through the door. At 47, Maya possessed the kind of energy that made people half her age feel exhausted. Her black hair was pulled into a messy bun, and she wore her signature uniform, dark jeans blazer, and enough silver jewelry to set off a metal detector. Spill what? Sophia settled into the comfortable chair across from Maya's desk, accepting the herbal tea that appeared as if by magic. The glow, the secret smile, the way you keep touching your stomach. Maya's dark eyes sparkled with mischief. Also, you've been craving jalapeno poppers for 3 weeks, and last month you couldn't look at spicy food without turning green. Sophia had forgotten how observant her friend could be. They'd met 15 years ago at a marketing conference, two women trying to prove themselves in a room full of men, and had been inseparable ever since. Maya was the sister she'd never had, the friend who'd held her hair back during her messy divorce from her first husband, the cheerleader who'd encouraged her to take the leap into entrepreneurship. I'm pregnant. The words came out in a rush, followed by the kind of silence that felt pregnant itself. Maya's face went through a series of expressions: surprise, joy, concern, and finally settling on pure delight. Holy shit, Sophia. That's how are you feeling? Are you okay? Is Ethan over the moon? When are you due? Have you told your mother yet? The rapid-fire questions made Sophia laugh. Breathe, Maya, one at a time. Sorry, it's just wow. A baby, at our age. I mean, not that there's anything wrong with that. Lots of women, Maya. Right, breathing. Maya took a dramatic, deep breath. How are you feeling? Terrified, excited, nauseated, amazed, sometimes all at once. Sophia settled back in her chair. It wasn't planned, obviously. I thought I was done with the possibility of children after the divorce. Then Ethan and I got married and we talked about it, but I assumed ship had sailed. Apparently your ship just took a scenic route, Maya grinned. And Ethan, he's Sophia paused, trying to find the right words. He's supportive, excited, I think. He's been traveling a lot lately, working on this new development in Monterey. Big clifftop resort project. Something in Maya's expression shifted. The Monterey project with the Chinese investors. You know about it. Sophie, I handle the marketing for half the high-end developments on the West Coast. Everyone's talking about that project. It's supposed to be revolutionary luxury eco-resort built into the cliff face itself. But the word is it's been having funding issues. A chill ran down Sophia's spine. Ethan hadn't mentioned funding issues. What kind of issues? The kind where investors pull out and developers get desperate. Maya's tone was gentle but concerned. I'm sure it's fine. Ethan's brilliant at what he does. But maybe now isn't the time for big risks. Before Sophia could respond, her phone rang. Ethan's name appeared on the screen, and she felt an immediate relief that annoyed her. When had she become the kind of woman who needed constant reassurance? Hey, babe, she answered, putting it on speaker so Maya could hear. Sophie, change of plans. I need to fly to Monterey tonight instead of Friday. Something's come up with the permits. His voice sounded strained, distracted. Tonight, but we were supposed to have dinner with my mother. You know she's been dying to meet you properly since the wedding. I know. Can we reschedule? This project is at a critical stage. Sophia caught Maya's eye. Her friend's expression was carefully neutral, but Sophia could read the concern there. Of course, I'll call her. You're the best. I'll make it up to you, I promise. Maybe we can plan a long weekend at that spa you love. After they hung up, Maya was quiet for a long moment. Sophie, can I ask you something? Always. Are you happy? Really, truly happy? The question caught Sophia off guard. Was she happy? She was successful, financially secure, married to a man most women would consider a catch, and expecting a miracle baby at 49. By any objective measure, she should be ecstatic. I think so, she said finally. I mean, yes, of course I am. It's just, everything's changing so fast. The pregnancy, Ethan's travel schedule, the business. Sometimes I feel like I'm trying to hold water in my hands. Maya nodded slowly. You know what you need, a girls' trip? Just us a beach somewhere ridiculous, drinks with umbrellas, and no talk of business or men or morning sickness. That sounds perfect. After this Monterey thing wraps up. Deal. But Sophie, Maya leaned forward, her expression serious. If you ever need anything, I mean anything, you know, I'm here, right? I know. Sophia reached across and squeezed her friend's hand. What would I do without you? Probably make much better business decisions, Maya said with a grin. Speaking of which, about that reality show I may have accidentally said yes to. As Maya launched into the story of how she'd somehow agreed to let a production company film their agency for a documentary about women entrepreneurs over 40, Sophia found herself only half listening. Her mind was wandering to Monterey, to clifftop developments, and to the strange feeling that had been growing in her chest for weeks now, the sense that something she couldn't name was shifting beneath her feet. She touched her stomach again, thinking about the life growing there. At 49, she was finally going to be someone's mother. The thought filled her with a fierce protectiveness she'd never experienced before. Whatever was coming, she would be ready for it. She had to be. That evening, Sophia sat alone in her penthouse dining room, picking at the salmon her housekeeper had prepared. The table was set for two, but Ethan's flight to Monterey had departed an hour ago. She'd called her mother to postpone dinner, enduring the usual subtle disappointment that Ellen Reynolds had perfected over the years. Of course, dear, business comes first. It always has with the men in our family. The comment stung more than it should have. Ellen had been married to Sophia's father for 35 years before his heart attack took him suddenly at 62. He'd been a good man, loving in his way, but his accounting firm had always taken precedence over family dinners, school plays, and quiet conversations. Sophia had sworn she wouldn't accept that pattern in her own marriage. Yet here she was eating alone while her husband flew off to handle another crisis. Her laptop was open beside her plate, emails streaming in from clients and potential partners. Work had always been her refuge, the place where she felt most competent and in control. Tonight, even that comfort felt hollow. An email notification popped up from an address she didn't recognize, vanessa.chen.design@gmail.com. Subject: Monterey Project. Urgent. Sophia's finger hovered over the delete button. It was probably spam or maybe something meant for Ethan that had been misdirected. But curiosity won, and she clicked it open. Hi there. This might seem weird, but I think your husband might have my phone by mistake. We were going over project details this afternoon, and our phones are identical models. Could you ask him to check? My whole life is on that thing. Thanks so much, Vanessa. The email was casual friendly with just enough breathless energy to suggest a young woman in mild panic. Nothing inappropriate about it, but something made Sophia pause. She read it again, then forwarded it to Ethan with a simple message. From your designer. Phone mix-up. His response came back almost immediately, handled. Thanks. No explanation, no details. Just handled. Sophia stared at the two-word response for a long moment. In their 4 years together, Ethan had never been curt with phone. Distracted, yes. Busy, certainly. But never dismissive. She was overthinking it. Pregnancy hormones and an overactive imagination were making her paranoid. Ethan was dealing with a project crisis, and she was sitting here inventing problems where none existed. Still, she found herself Googling Vanessa Chen Interior Designer Malibu. The search returned several results. A professional website showcasing sleek, modern spaces that looked like they belonged in architectural magazines. An Instagram account with photos of beautifully designed rooms interspersed with shots of a striking woman with long black hair and the kind of effortless beauty that made other women feel simultaneously inspired and inadequate. Sophia scrolled through the photos, telling herself she was just curious about Ethan's professional collaborator. Vanessa Chen was talented, that much was obvious. She was also young, probably early 30s, with the kind of figure that looked amazing in the flowing dresses she favored. One photo made Sophia pause. It showed Vanessa standing on what looked like a cliff overlooking the ocean, arms spread wide, face tilted toward the sun. The caption read, "Sometimes you have to get comfortable with standing on the edge before you can learn to fly." Monday motivation. Clifftop vibes had new beginnings. The location tag read Monterey, California. Posted 3 days ago. Sophia closed the laptop with more force than necessary. She was being ridiculous. Of course, Vanessa would be in Monterey. She was working on the project. Of course, she would post inspirational quotes on Instagram. Half the world did that. And of course, she was beautiful. Ethan had always appreciated beauty in all its forms. None of that meant anything. But as Sophia prepared for bed alone in the king-size bed she usually shared with her husband, she couldn't shake the image of Vanessa Chen standing on a cliff, arms outstretched, looking like she was ready to take on the world, or steal someone else's. The next morning brought a text from Ethan. Project more complicated than expected. May need to stay through the weekend. Miss you. Sophia stared at the message while eating yogurt and trying not to feel nauseated. The morning sickness had been unpredictable. Sometimes she felt fine. Other times the smell of coffee made her run for the bathroom. Miss you too, she typed back. Everything okay? Just business. We'll call tonight. The responses were efficient, factual, and completely unlike the Ethan who usually sent her romantic selfies and detailed descriptions of his hotel breakfast. But maybe that was what happened when someone was under stress. Maybe she was reading too much into everything. Maya arrived at the office before Sophia, which was unusual. Her business partner was many things, but an early bird wasn't one of them. Couldn't sleep, Maya explained when Sophia found her in the break room, surrounded by coffee cups and what looked like financial spreadsheets. I've been thinking about what you said yesterday about Ethan's project. Maya, please tell me you didn't. I made some calls. Maya held up a hand to forestall Sophia's objection. Just friendly inquiries, industry gossip, the kind of thing people share over drinks. Sophia poured herself tea, noting that the smell of Maya's coffee didn't bother her this morning. Small victories. And one thing, the Monterey project is real. Revolutionary design, massive budget potential to change how we think about luxury eco-resorts. Maya paused, stirring her coffee with unnecessary intensity. But there are rumors. What kind of rumors? The kind where the lead investor might be having second thoughts. The kind where other developers are circling like sharks, waiting for the project to fail so they can swoop in. Maya's voice was gentle but firm. The kind where a smart man might start looking for backup plans. Sophia felt a chill that had nothing to do with the morning air conditioning. Backup plans like what? like partnering with someone who has connections, influence, maybe even financial resources of her own. Maya's eyes met Sophia's. Someone like a successful interior designer with wealthy clients and industry contacts. The implication hung in the air between them. Sophia wanted to laugh it off, to dismiss Maya's concerns as the overprotective instincts of a friend who'd seen too many women get hurt. But the rational part of her mind, the part that had built a successful business by reading situations accurately, was starting to connect dots she didn't want to see. "You think Ethan is having an affair?" The words came out flat, matter of fact. "I think Ethan is under enormous pressure, and people do stupid things when they're desperate." Maya's voice was carefully neutral. "I think beautiful women often get involved with powerful men for reasons that have nothing to do with love. And I think you deserve to know what's really going on." Before Sophia could respond, her phone rang. The caller ID showed her doctor's office. "Mrs. Reynolds, this is Janet from Dr. Martinez's office. I'm calling to confirm your appointment for Friday at 10 a.m. Actually, I need to reschedule. My husband had to travel unexpectedly." "Oh, that's fine. Many women come to their first appointments alone. Shall we keep the Friday slot?" Sophia felt something shift inside her chest. Many women came alone. Of course they did. Because not every husband dropped everything for prenatal appointments. Because life was complicated and business was important, and she was a grown woman who could handle an ultrasound by herself. "Yes," she said firmly. "Keep the Friday appointment. I'll be there." After she hung up, Maya was smiling. "Good for you. It's just a doctor's appointment. It's the first step toward remembering that you don't need anyone's permission to take care of yourself and your baby." The word baby still felt surreal. In just over 8 months, she would be responsible for another human being. The thought was both terrifying and amazing. "Maya, can I ask you something?" "Always." "Do you think I'm naive about men, about marriage, about life in general?" Maya was quiet for a long moment, which was unusual for her. When she spoke, her voice was thoughtful. "I think you're optimistic. I think you believe the best of people until they prove otherwise. And I think those are beautiful qualities that make you an amazing friend, businesswoman, and soon-to-be mother. But, but sometimes optimistic people don't see the warning signs until it's too late." Maya reached across the table and took Sophia's hand. "I'm not saying Ethan is cheating. I'm saying be aware. Trust your instincts. And remember that you're strong enough to handle whatever comes." Sophia squeezed her friend's hand. "When did we get so wise?" "Around the time we realized we were the adults in the room and no one was going to save us but ourselves." They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, two women who'd built lives and careers through determination and mutual support. Whatever was coming, Sophia knew she wouldn't face it alone. Her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Hi, this is Vanessa Chen. I got your husband's number from the project file. Could you ask him to call me when he gets a chance? Thanks." Sophia showed the message to Maya, who raised an eyebrow. "Interesting that she has his number but not yours, considering you're married to him. Maybe she just didn't want to bother me. Or maybe she's trying to establish that her relationship with him is personal, not just professional." Before Sophia could respond, another text came in from the same number. "Oh, and congratulations on the pregnancy. Ethan mentioned it. You must be so excited." This time, both women stared at the phone in silence. "He told her about the baby," Sophia said finally. "He told her about the baby," Maya confirmed. The implications settled between them like a stone dropping into still water. Ethan had shared their private news with a woman Sophia had never met while he was traveling on business in a city far from home. Maybe it was innocent. Maybe it was just friendly conversation between colleagues. Or maybe it was the beginning of the end of everything Sophia thought she knew about her life. The most dangerous cliffs aren't the ones you can see, they're the ones disguised as solid ground. Friday morning arrived gray and drizzling, matching Sophia's mood perfectly. She sat in Dr. Martinez's waiting room, surrounded by couples holding hands and women chatting excitedly about nursery themes. The empty chair beside her felt like a neon sign advertising her solitude. "Sophia Reynolds." A cheerful nurse appeared at the door. "That's me." Sophia gathered her purse and followed the nurse down a hallway lined with photos of babies, thousands of tiny faces representing successful pregnancies and happy families. Dr. Elena Martinez was exactly what Sophia had hoped for: warm, competent, and refreshingly direct. She was probably in her early 50s with kind eyes and the sort of confidence that came from delivering hundreds of babies safely into the world. First pregnancy, Dr. Martinez asked as she reviewed Sophia's paperwork. At 49, yes. I know it's not exactly typical. It's more common than you might think. We call them miracle babies for a reason. The doctor smiled. Any concerns so far? Sophia hesitated. Did emotional turmoil about her husband count as a pregnancy concern? Just the usual. Morning sickness, fatigue, wondering if I'm too old to figure out how to use a breast pump. Dr. Martinez laughed. Trust me, if you can run a business, you can handle baby equipment. Though I recommend watching some YouTube videos. The instruction manuals are written by people who clearly don't have sleep-deprived mom brain. The examination was routine efficient and surprisingly emotional. Hearing the baby's heartbeat for the first time, a quick, strong rhythm like a tiny drum, made Sophia's eyes fill with tears. Everything sounds perfect, Dr. Martinez said, removing her stethoscope. Would you like to schedule an ultrasound for next week? You should be able to see the baby clearly by then. Yes, please, Sophia paused. My husband is traveling a lot for work. Would it be terrible if he missed it? Not terrible at all, but if you want him there, you might consider recording it on your phone. Many partners appreciate being able to see their baby for the first time, even if it's not in real time. As Sophia scheduled her next appointment, she felt a strange mix of independence and loneliness. She was handling this pregnancy just fine on her own, but that didn't mean she wanted to. Walking to her car, she impulsively called Ethan. It went straight to voicemail. Hey, babe, just finished my appointment. Everything's perfect. The baby has a strong heartbeat. Dr. Martinez says we can schedule an ultrasound for next week if you want to see the little one. Call me when you get this. Love you. She waited in her car for a few minutes, hoping he might call back immediately. When he didn't, she drove to the office, trying to ignore the growing knot in her stomach that had nothing to do with morning sickness. Maya was waiting with coffee and a concerned expression. How did it go? Good. Great, actually. The baby's heartbeat is strong. Everything's developing normally. Sophia accepted the coffee gratefully. Dr. Martinez said she could schedule an ultrasound for next week. That's amazing. Are you excited? Yes, and also completely terrified. What if I'm a terrible mother? What if I'm too old to relate to a child? What if... Sophie, Maya's voice was firm. You're going to be an incredible mother. You're patient, loving, successful, and you have more life experience than most new moms. Your kid is going to be lucky to have you. Thanks, I needed to hear that. Sophia settled into her chair. Any word from our reality show people? Actually, yes, they want to start filming next week. Apparently, the pregnancy angle makes the story even more compelling. Successful woman entrepreneur starting a family at 50 is exactly the kind of narrative they're looking for. The idea of cameras following her around while she navigated pregnancy and potential marriage problems made Sophia's head spin. Can we postpone? We could, but the timing might actually be perfect if Ethan is... Maya paused diplomatically. If there are challenges in your marriage, having documentation of your strength and independence could be valuable later. The implication was clear and Sophia felt a chill. Maya was already thinking about divorce lawyers and asset protection. The thought made her sick. Her phone buzzed with a text from Ethan. Sorry missed your call, in meetings all day. We'll call tonight. No mention of the appointment, no questions about the baby, no acknowledgement that he'd missed an important milestone. He forgot, Sophia said quietly. Maya looked up from her laptop. What? The appointment. He forgot that today was my first prenatal visit. He didn't even ask how it went. The silence that followed was heavy with unspoken concerns. Another text came in. Might need to extend trip through next week. This project is consuming everything. Sophia stared at the message, feeling something crack inside her chest. Maya, I need to ask you a favor. Anything. I need you to find out everything you can about the Monterey project. Who's involved, what the real financial situation is, and... She took a deep breath. What role Vanessa Chen is actually playing? Maya nodded grimly. Consider it done. That afternoon, while Maya worked her industry contacts, Sophia threw herself into client work. She had 3 proposals to finish, a campaign launch to oversee, and a presentation to prepare for Monday. Keeping busy was the only way to stop her mind from spinning through increasingly dire scenarios. But concentration proved elusive. Every time her phone remained silent, every hour that passed without a call from Ethan, the knot in her stomach tightened further. At 5 o'clock, Maya appeared in her doorway with a thick folder and an expression that made Sophia's heart sink. "What did you find?" Maya closed the door and sat down heavily. "The good news is that the Monterey project is real and potentially very lucrative. The bad news is that it's been having serious financial problems for 6 months." "What kind of problems?" "The main investor, a tech billionaire named David Zhang, has been getting cold feet about the environmental impact. There's been resistance from local conservation groups permitting delays and budget overruns." Maya opened the folder. "The project needs an immediate cash infusion of $50 million or it's going to collapse." Sophia felt the blood drain from her face. 50 million, that's more than Ethan's entire net worth. Right, which means he'd need a partner. Someone with either deep pockets or connections to people with deep pockets. Vanessa Chen. Vanessa Chen? Maya pulled out a printout. "I did some digging into her background. She's not just an interior designer, Sophie. Her family owns one of the largest construction companies in California. Her father, Michael Chen, has been involved in major developments up and down the coast." The pieces were falling into place with horrible clarity. So she's not just designing pretty rooms. She's potentially a financial partner. "It gets worse." Maya's voice was gentle but firm. "I reached out to a friend who works in high-end real estate marketing. Vanessa Chen has been seen at several industry events over the past month. With Ethan, they've been presenting themselves as co-developers on the Monterey project." Sophia felt like she was standing at the edge of a very high cliff, looking down at jagged rocks below. Co-developers. So they're, what, business partners? That's one possibility. What's the other possibility? Maya was quiet for a long moment. "The other possibility is that Ethan is having an affair with a woman who can save his project, and he's planning to leave you for her." The words hung in the air like a death sentence. Sophia wanted to laugh to dismiss it as melodramatic nonsense, but the evidence was too clear to ignore. Her phone rang. Ethan's name appeared on the screen. "Answer it," Maya said softly, "but be careful what you say." Sophia took a deep breath and accepted the call. "Hi, babe." "Sophie, sorry I've been so hard to reach. This project is turning into a nightmare." His voice sounded stressed but genuine. For a moment, Sophia almost convinced herself that Maya's suspicions were wrong. "What's happening?" "Investor issues, permit problems, you name it. But I think we're making progress. Vanessa has been incredible. Her connections are helping us navigate some of the regulatory hurdles." There it was. Vanessa has been incredible. Not the designer is helping, or we're working with a local contact. Vanessa has been incredible. "That's good," Sophia managed. "How much longer do you think you'll need to stay?" "Maybe another week. I know it's frustrating, especially with the baby coming, but this project could set us up for life. Our family's future depends on making this work." Our family's future. The irony wasn't lost on her. "Of course. Do what you need to do." Sophia forced herself to sound supportive. "I had my first appointment today, by the way." Appointment. There was a pause and she could almost hear him trying to remember. "Oh, the doctor. How did it go?" "Fine, the baby's heartbeat is strong. Dr. Martinez wants to schedule an ultrasound for next week." "That's wonderful, babe. Really wonderful. I'm sorry I couldn't be there." "It's okay, I understand." But even as she said it, Sophia realized she didn't understand. She didn't understand how the man who'd proposed to her on a beach in Santorini, who'd spent their honeymoon planning their future together, could miss her first prenatal appointment and barely remember to ask about it. She didn't understand how a business project had become more important than their marriage, their baby, their life together. After they hung up, Maya was watching her with concerned eyes. "How are you feeling?" "Like I'm living in someone else's life." Sophia rubbed her temples, trying to ward off a headache. "6 months ago, we were talking about buying a house with a yard for kids to play in. Now he's in another state working with another woman, while I go to doctor's appointments alone." "Sophie, there's something else?" Maya's voice was hesitant. "I found some photos from a charity gala in Monterey last weekend. Vanessa Chen was there. With a date." Maya turned her laptop around, showing Sophia a society page website. The photos showed a glamorous outdoor event overlooking the ocean. Men in tuxedos, women in evening gowns, champagne glasses, catching the sunset light. And there in the third photo was Vanessa Chen in a stunning red dress, her arm linked with a tall man in a perfectly fitted tuxedo. Ethan. The caption read, Interior designer Vanessa Chen with development partner Ethan Reynolds at the Monterey Bay Conservation Gala. Development partner, not and her date or with client. Development partner. Sophia stared at the photo, taking in every detail. The way Vanessa's hand rested on Ethan's arm, the way he was looking down at her with an expression Sophia recognized, the same one he'd worn when he looked at her during their early days of dating, the way they stood just slightly too close for professional colleagues. When was this taken? She asked quietly. Last Saturday night. Saturday night. While Sophia had been at home eating dinner alone and Googling pregnancy symptoms, her husband had been at a black tie gala with another woman. I think I need to go home, Sophia said. Want me to come with you? No, I need to think. Maya nodded but made no move to leave. Sophie, whatever you decide to do, you know I support you, right? And you know you're going to be okay no matter what happens. Sophia felt tears burning behind her eyes. Because right now I feel like I'm 49 pregnant and possibly about to become a single mother. That doesn't feel very okay. You're also brilliant, successful, financially independent, and surrounded by people who love you. You built a life before Ethan, and you can build whatever life you want after him, if it comes to that. The words were meant to be comforting, but they also felt like a prediction. After him, as if the end of her marriage was already a foregone conclusion. I should go, Sophia said, gathering her things. I need to. What? I need to figure out what I'm going to do. The penthouse felt different when Sophia returned that evening. Emptier, colder, despite the warm temperature and elegant furnishings. She walked from room to room, looking at the life she and Ethan had built together, their wedding photos, souvenirs, from trips, the expensive art they'd chosen together. In the master bedroom, she opened Ethan's closet and inhaled the scent of his cologne lingering on his clothes. For 4 years, this had been their sanctuary, the place where they talked about their dreams and planned their future. Now it felt like a stage set for a play she was no longer sure she wanted to perform in. Her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Hi, Sophia. This is Vanessa Chen. I hope you don't mind me reaching out directly. Ethan mentioned you were pregnant. Congratulations. I'd love to get together for a coffee when you're in the area. I think we'd have a lot to talk about. Sophia stared at the message, her heart pounding. The casual friendliness felt calculated, aggressive in its very normalcy. What kind of woman reached out to contact the wife of a man she was working with? What did they possibly have to talk about? Unless Vanessa knew something that Sophia didn't. Unless this was the beginning of a conversation that Sophia wasn't ready to have. She typed and deleted several responses before settling on, thanks for reaching out. I'm not sure when I'll be in Monterey, but I appreciate the invitation. The response came back almost immediately. Actually, I'll be in Chicago next week. Business meetings. Would love to buy you lunch and hear all about your exciting news. Sophia felt a chill run down her spine. Vanessa was coming to Chicago. Why? What business could she possibly have in Chicago that wasn't related to the Monterey project? Before she could respond, her phone rang. Ethan. Hey, babe, I wanted to call and really apologize for missing your appointment today. I know how important it was. His voice was warm, contrite, familiar. For a moment, Sophia almost forgot about the photo. The suspicions, the growing certainty that her marriage was built on a foundation that was crumbling beneath her feet. It's okay, she said. I understand you're under pressure. I am, but that's no excuse. You and the baby come first always. I promise things will be different once this project is secured. Ethan, can I ask you something? Of course. Are you happy in our marriage? Are you happy? The pause that followed was just a beat too long. Of course I'm happy. Why would you ask that? I don't know. You've seemed distant lately, distracted. I just wanted to make sure we're okay. We're more than okay, Sophie. We're solid. This baby is going to be the best thing that ever happened to us. The words were right, but something in his tone felt off, like he was reading from a script trying to convince himself as much as her. I love you, she said, testing. I love you too. more than anything. After they hung up, Sophia sat in the darkening living room, watching the lights of Chicago twinkle to life beyond the windows. She placed her hand on her stomach, thinking about the life growing there. "What are we going to do, little one?" she whispered. "Your daddy might be in love with someone else, and your mommy might be too scared to face the truth." Her laptop was still on the coffee table where she'd left it that morning. Almost without conscious thought, she opened it and Googled "signs your husband is having an affair." The results were depressingly familiar. Increased travel, secretive phone behavior, sudden interest in appearance, emotional distance, accusations of jealousy when questioned. Ethan exhibited most of the signs, but knowing something and proving it were two different things. And proving it and knowing what to do about it were two different things again. Sophia closed the laptop and went to bed, but sleep eluded her. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Vanessa Chen in her red dress, her hand on Ethan's arm, looking up at him with the kind of adoration that should have belonged to his wife. Somewhere around 3 a.m., she made a decision. She was going to find out the truth, whatever it cost her. Because living in uncertainty was worse than living with painful knowledge. And because the baby growing inside her deserved better than a father who was capable of such deception. Saturday morning brought an unexpected visitor. Sophia was still in her pajamas, nursing her second cup of herbal tea and trying to work up the energy to shower when the doorman called to announce that Mrs. Ellen Reynolds was on her way up. Her mother-in-law. Sophia's relationship with Ellen was cordial, but not warm. Ellen Reynolds was old money, the kind of woman who wore pearls to the grocery store and believed that problems should be handled privately, quietly, and with minimal emotional display. She had not entirely approved of her son's marriage to a divorced businesswoman with no pedigree and strong opinions. "Sophia, dear," Ellen swept into the penthouse wearing a cream-colored suit and an expression of careful concern. "I hope you don't mind me dropping by." "Of course not. Can I get you some coffee?" "That would be lovely." They settled in the living room, Ellen perched on the edge of the white leather sofa as if she were afraid of wrinkling it. Sophia couldn't help but notice that her mother-in-law looked older than her 68 years, worry lines creasing her forehead. "I wanted to speak with you about Ethan," Ellen said without preamble. Sophia's heart stopped. "What about him?" "He's been calling me frequently over the past few weeks, more than usual. He seems troubled." "Troubled how?" Elvin was quiet for a moment, choosing her words carefully. "Ethan has always been ambitious, perhaps to a fault. His father was the same way, brilliant, driven, but sometimes blind to the consequences of his choices." "Mrs. Reynolds, I'm not sure I understand." "What I'm trying to say, dear, is that when men feel their success is threatened, they sometimes make decisions that they later regret, decisions that can hurt the people they love most." The careful phrasing couldn't disguise the warning. Ellen knew something. "Has Ethan said something specific?" Sophia asked. "Not in so many words. But I've lived through this before with his father. The late nights, the business trips, the strain around the eyes." Ellen's voice was gentle but firm. "I'm not sure what's happening with this Monterey project, but I'm concerned about the pressure he's under." "So am I." Ellen studied her for a long moment. "You're stronger than I was at your age, Sophia. You have your own career, your own resources. You don't need to tolerate behavior that I once accepted because I had no other choice." It was the closest thing to support that Ellen had ever offered, and it came with a clear message: prepare yourself for the worst. "Is there something specific you think I should know?" Sophia asked. "I think you should trust your instincts, and I think you should protect yourself and your grandchild." Ellen's eyes softened slightly. "Yes, Ethan told me about the pregnancy. I'm thrilled despite the circumstances." "Despite the circumstances, oh bus. Despite the fact that my son seems to be having some sort of midlife crisis that could destroy everything good in his life." They sat in silence for a moment, two women from different generations united in their concern for the same man and their frustration with his choices. "Mrs. Reynolds, can I ask you something?" "Of course. Do you think it's possible to love someone and still betray them?" Ellen's smile was sad and knowing. "Oh, my dear, I think people are capable of extraordinary self-deception when they want something badly enough. They can convince themselves that their betrayal is actually kindness, that their lies are actually protection." "And what do you do when you realize that's happening?" "You save yourself, because no one else will." After Ellen left, Sophia felt a strange sense of clarity. She wasn't going crazy. She wasn't being paranoid or hormonal or unreasonably suspicious. The people who knew Ethan best were seeing the same warning signs that she was. Her phone buzzed with a text from Maya. Emergency meeting, found something big. Can you come in? Sophia threw on clothes and drove to the office with a sense of impending doom. Maya was waiting with coffee and a grim expression. What did you find? I called in a favor with someone who works at the Monterey County Planning Commission. The Cheng's construction company filed a formal partnership agreement with Reynolds Development last month. Sophia felt the blood drain from her face. A partnership agreement for what? For the Clifftop project. According to the filing, Reynolds Development and Chen Construction are now equal partners in the development, with Vanessa Chen listed as the primary liaison. Equal partners, meaning Ethan signed away half of his project to her family's company in exchange for $50 million in immediate funding. The room spun slightly. Sophia sat down hard in the nearest chair. He didn't tell me. He signed a $50 million partnership agreement and didn't mention it. There's more. Maya's voice was gentle but relentless. I also found records of several property transfers in Monterey. Ethan purchased a house there 3 weeks ago, a house that's titled in both his name and Vanessa Chen's. The world stopped. A house, Sophia repeated numbly. He bought a house with her. A house with a view of the construction site. A house where they can oversee the project together. Maya placed a tissue box within Sophia's reach, but Sophia felt too numb to cry. This wasn't heartbreak. It was something deeper and more devastating. It was the complete destruction of everything she thought she knew about her life. Maya, I need you to help me with something. Anything. I need to go to Monterey. I need to see this house, this project, this whole situation for myself. Are you sure that's a good idea? No, but I'm sure that sitting here wondering and worrying is going to drive me insane. Sophia stood up, feeling suddenly energized. And I'm sure that if my husband is planning to leave me for another woman, I'd rather find out on my own terms than wait for him to work up the courage to tell me. Maya nodded slowly. When do we leave? You don't think I'm letting you handle this alone, do you? For the first time in days, Sophia felt genuinely grateful. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. We might not like what we find. I already don't like what we found, but at least we'll know the truth. And then what? Sophia thought about Ellen's words about the baby growing inside her, about the life she'd built and the future she'd imagined. Then we figure out what comes next. Sometimes the only way to find solid ground is to jump off the cliff and see where you land. The drive to Monterey took 6 hours. 6 hours during which Sophia and Maya dissected every detail of the past few months, looking for signs they'd missed, clues they should have seen earlier. Maya drove while Sophia alternated between staring out the window at the California landscape and checking her phone for messages from Ethan. He texted an hour ago, Sophia said as they passed through San Jose. Said he's in meetings all day and will call tonight. Meetings with who, I wonder, Maya muttered. They'd booked a hotel in Carmel, just far enough from Monterey to avoid accidentally running into Ethan, but close enough to conduct their reconnaissance mission. The plan was simple: drive, by the house, scope out the construction site, gather information, and decide what to do next. What if we see them together? Sophia asked as they pulled into the hotel parking lot. Then we'll deal with it. What if what if it's obvious that they're... Sophie. Maya turned off the engine and faced her friend. Whatever we find, you're going to handle it with grace and strength. Because that's who you are, and because that baby deserves a mother who fights for what's right. Sophia nodded, placing her hand on her stomach. At 10 weeks, she was starting to show just slightly a small curve that was invisible under loose clothing, but obvious to her when she looked in the mirror. The baby was real, growing, depending on her to make good decisions. Okay, she said, let's go find out what my husband is really doing. The house was exactly what Sophia would have expected from Ethan, modern minimalist, with floor-to-ceiling windows that showcased the spectacular ocean view. It sat on a bluff overlooking Monterey Bay, all clean lines and expensive materials. A house that said, successful developer with impeccable taste. A house that also had Vanessa Chen's white BMW in the driveway. Maya parked across the street behind a landscaping truck that provided some cover. From their position, they could see the front of the house clearly. There's her car, Maya said unnecessarily. There's her car, Sophia agreed. They sat in silence for a few minutes waiting for what? For Ethan to emerge, for the truth to become obvious, for the situation to resolve itself without requiring any action from them. Sophia's phone rang. Ethan. Answer it, Maya whispered. Act normal. Hi, babe, Sophia said, surprised by how steady her voice sounded. Hey, beautiful. How's your day going? She was sitting across the street from the house he'd bought with another woman watching that woman's car in the driveway, and he was asking about her day. Fine, just catching up on some reading. How are your meetings going? Productive. We're making real progress on the permit issues. I think we might actually pull this off. That's wonderful. Where are you right now? At the construction site, going over some design modifications with the team. The lie came so easily, so smoothly that Sophia almost admired his skill. If she hadn't been sitting outside his secret house, she might have believed him completely. Sounds busy. I'll let you get back to it. Love you, Sophie. Talk tonight. Of course. After she hung up, Maya was staring at her. He's lying. He's lying, Sophia confirmed. As if summoned by their conversation, the front door of the house opened. Vanessa Chen emerged wearing yoga clothes and carrying a coffee cup. She looked relaxed, comfortable at home. Then Ethan appeared behind her. He was wearing jeans and a t-shirt that Sophia had bought him for his birthday. His hair was slightly messed, and he was laughing at something Vanessa had said. As they watched, he reached out and tucked a strand of hair behind her ear, a gesture so intimate, so tender that Sophia felt physically ill. Oh, honey, Maya whispered. They watched as Ethan and Vanessa stood in the doorway talking quietly. The body language was unmistakable. This wasn't a business meeting or a professional collaboration. This was a couple having a quiet morning together. Then Vanessa stood on her tiptoes and kissed him. Not a friendly peck on the cheek, not a European air kiss between colleagues. A real kiss, soft and lingering, the kind of kiss that spoke of intimacy and familiarity. Sophia felt something break inside her chest. All the suspicions, all the evidence, all the slowly building certainty, none of it had prepared her for the visceral reality of watching her husband kiss another woman. I'm going to be sick, she said. Maya already had the car started. Let's get out of here. But as they pulled away, Sophia found herself looking back at the house, memorizing every detail. The Spanish tile roof, the carefully landscaped garden, the way the morning light hit the windows. This was where her husband was building a new life, a life that didn't include her. Where do you want to go? Maya asked gently. I don't know, somewhere I can think. They drove aimlessly for a while, eventually finding themselves at a small park overlooking the bay. Sophia sat on a bench while Maya went to get coffee from a nearby cafe, leaving her alone with her thoughts and the sound of waves crashing against the rocks below. Her phone buzzed with a text from Vanessa. Looking forward to our lunch in Chicago. I have so much to tell you. The casual friendliness, the exclamation points, the smiley face, it all felt like salt in an open wound. How could someone be so cheerful about destroying a marriage? How could she text the wife of the man she was sleeping with and act like they were potential friends? Unless Vanessa knew something that Sophia didn't. Unless this lunch invitation wasn't about friendship at all. When Maya returned with coffee, Sophia showed her the text. She's coming to Chicago to tell you about the affair, Maya said immediately. I think she's coming to Chicago to tell you that Ethan is leaving you for her. I think this is her way of taking control of the narrative, positioning herself as the reasonable one who tried to handle things civilly. The thought made Sophia's stomach churn. So what do I do? You have a few options. You can confront Ethan directly. You can wait and see what Vanessa has to say. You can file for divorce immediately and let the lawyers handle everything. Or you can take some time to figure out what you actually want independent of what anyone else is planning. Sophia stared out at the ocean, thinking about the question. What did she want? 6 months ago, she would have said she wanted to save her marriage. But the man she'd fallen in love with wouldn't have bought a house with another woman. The man she'd married wouldn't have lied to her face while standing in the doorway of his secret love nest. I want to talk to him, she said finally. I want to hear him explain this. I want to look him in the eye and ask him if he loves her. Are you sure? No, but I'm sure that I can't move forward without knowing where I stand. Maya nodded. Okay, how do you want to do this? Sophia thought for a moment, then pulled out her phone and typed a text to Ethan. Change of plans. I'm in Monterey, surprise. Where are you? I'd love to see this amazing project you've been working on. She hit send before she could change her mind. The response came back within minutes. What's your here? Why didn't you tell me I'm at the site? Where are you staying? Just got here. Can you pick me up at the Carmel Valley Ranch? I want to see everything. Of course, give me an hour to wrap up here and I'll come get you. This is such a wonderful surprise, babe. Sophia showed Maya the exchange. He sounds genuinely excited to see me. Of course he does. He probably thinks he can maintain the charade a little longer. Maybe he hasn't decided what he wants to do yet. Maybe. But even as she said it, Sophia knew better. The kiss she'd witnessed wasn't the kiss of a man who was conflicted about his feelings. It was the kiss of a man who'd already made his choice. Still, she needed to hear it from him. She needed to give him the chance to tell her the truth, even if the truth was going to destroy everything. An hour later, Sophia stood in the lobby of the Carmel Valley Ranch, waiting for her husband to arrive. Maya had taken a separate car and was following at a distance, close enough to help if needed, far enough away to avoid being seen. When Ethan's black Tesla pulled into the circular drive, Sophia felt her heart jump. Despite everything she'd seen and suspected, part of her was still hoping for some reasonable explanation. Maybe Vanessa was a business partner who got in the wrong idea. Maybe the kiss had been her initiative, not his. Maybe there was still a way to save their marriage. Then Ethan got out of the car and Sophia saw his face. He looked guilty, not surprised, not confused, not innocent. Guilty. Sophie. He swept her into a hug that felt both familiar and strange. I can't believe you're here. What made you decide to come? I missed you, she said simply, and I wanted to see what you've been working so hard on. I'm so glad you're here. Wait until you see the site. It's going to be incredible. As they drove toward the construction area, Ethan chattered about permits and environmental concerns and design challenges. He seemed nervous, talking more than usual, filling the silence with details about construction timelines and investor meetings. The project has really evolved since we started, he said as they turned onto a coastal road. We've had to bring in some additional partners to make it work financially. Partners, local expertise, people who understand the regulatory environment the community concerns. It's been invaluable. They reached a viewing area that overlooked the construction site. Below them, earth movers and cranes were working to carve a resort into the cliff top, the skeleton of the main building beginning to take shape. It was impressive, ambitious, and beautiful, and exactly the kind of project that would cement Ethan's reputation as a visionary developer. It's amazing, Sophia said and meant it. It really is. Come on. I want to show you the plans. He led her to a temporary trailer that served as the on-site office. Inside, the walls were covered with architectural drawings, photos, and progress charts. And there, prominently displayed on the main desk, was a photo of Ethan and Vanessa at what looked like a groundbreaking ceremony. Sophia stared at the photo for a long moment. They were both wearing hard hats and holding shovels, smiling broadly at the camera. Vanessa's other hand was resting on Ethan's arm, and they looked like exactly what they were, partners. Who's that? Sophia asked, pointing to the photo. Ethan followed her gaze and froze. For just a moment, his mask slipped and she saw panic in his eyes. That's Vanessa Chen. She's the interior designer I mentioned. Her family's construction company is helping with the build. She's pretty. I guess. I hadn't really noticed. No. The lie was so transparent that Sophia almost felt sorry for him. Almost. Ethan, can I ask you something? Of course. Are you having an affair? The silence that followed stretched for an eternity. Sophia watched her husband's face cycle through surprise, denial, calculation, and finally resignation. Sophie, are you having an affair with Vanessa Chen? Another long pause. When he spoke, his voice was barely above a whisper. Yes. The simple word hit her like a physical blow. Even though she'd known, even though she'd seen them together, hearing him admit, it made it real in a way that felt devastating. How long? Sophie, please let me explain. How long, Ethan? 3 months. 3 months. Their entire pregnancy, Vanessa had been in the picture. While Sophia was discovering she was going to be a mother, planning their future as a family, Ethan was falling in love with someone else. Do you love her? Ethan's eyes filled with tears. I don't know. I think so, yes. And us. Our marriage, the baby. I love you too, Sophie. I love you so much, and I never meant for this to happen. It just, it got complicated. Complicated. Sophia felt something cold and hard settling in her chest. Our marriage became complicated, so you decided to start a new one. It's not like that. Then what is it like? Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you've been lying to me for months while building a life with another woman. Ethan slumped into a chair, his head in his hands. The project was falling apart. The investors were pulling out, and I was going to lose everything. Vanessa's family offered to save it, but there were conditions. What kind of conditions? Partnership, real partnership. Not just financial investment, but shared ownership, shared decision-making. And Vanessa wanted to be involved personally. So you decided to become involved with her personally. It wasn't supposed to happen. But we were spending so much time together, working so closely, and she understands this world in a way that I don't. That's not what I meant. Isn't it? Sophia stood up, needing to move, needing to put distance between them. I'm just the marketing consultant wife who doesn't understand construction and development. She's the industry insider who can save your project. Sophie, that's not fair. Fair, Sophia laughed, surprised by the bitterness in her own voice. You want to talk about fair? Is it fair that I found out about your affair by driving 6 hours to spy on you? Is it fair that you bought a house with another woman while I was home planning our baby's nursery? Ethan's head snapped up. You know about the house. I know about everything, Ethan. The partnership agreement, the house, the fact that you've been lying to me for months while I worried about your stress and tried to be supportive. They stared at each other across the trailer, the distance between them feeling like an ocean. This man who'd been the center of her life for 4 years suddenly felt like a stranger. What happens now? She asked quietly. I don't know. I was trying to figure out how to tell you, how to make this work somehow. Make what work? You can't have both of us, Ethan. I know. I know that. But the baby changes everything. I want to be a father, Sophie. I want to be part of our child's life. And Vanessa, what does she want? Ethan was quiet for a long moment. She wants me to choose. And what have you chosen? I don't know. But even as he said it, Sophia could see in his eyes that he did know. He'd already chosen. He was just too much of a coward to say it out loud. I'm going back to Chicago, she said. Sophie, wait. Can't we talk about this? Can't we try to work something out? Work what out? You're in love with another woman. You've built a life with her. What exactly is there to work out? Our marriage, our family, the baby. Sophia felt a surge of anger, so pure and clean that it surprised her. Don't you dare use this baby as an excuse for your behavior. You made these choices while I was pregnant, Ethan. You chose to have an affair while your wife was carrying your child. I know, and I'm sorry. I'm so fucking sorry, Sophie. Sorry doesn't fix this. Then what can I do to fix this? Sophia looked at him, really looked at him, and realized that she didn't want him to fix it. She didn't want to fight for a man who'd chosen someone else. She didn't want to spend the rest of her life wondering if he was really committed or just settling for his second choice. Nothing, she said quietly. You can't fix this, Ethan. It's broken. She walked toward the door, then turned back. Vanessa wanted to have lunch with me in Chicago. I assume that's when you two were planning to tell me about this. Ethan nodded miserably. Tell her she doesn't need to make the trip. I'll have my lawyer contact yours. Sophie, please. Goodbye, Ethan. She walked out of the trailer and kept walking until she reached the cliff edge where she could see the ocean stretching endlessly toward the horizon. Maya appeared beside her within minutes, having apparently been watching from the parking area. How did it go? Maya asked gently. He admitted everything. He's in love with her. He's been planning to leave me, but didn't know how to tell me. I'm sorry. Are you? Because honestly, I feel relieved. I feel like I can finally stop pretending that everything is fine when it's obviously not. They stood in silence for a while, watching the waves crash against the rocks below. Behind them, Sophia could hear the sounds of construction continuing, the future taking shape without her input or involvement. What happens now? Maya asked. Now I go home and figure out how to be a single mother at 49. You're going to be amazing at it. Sophia touched her stomach, thinking about the life growing there. This baby is going to be so loved, Maya. Even if it's just the two of us, this child is going to know what real commitment looks like. The two of you, Sophie, you're not going to be alone. You have me and your mother and Ellen and a whole network of people who care about you. I know, but I mean, I'm not going to go looking for another relationship. I'm 49 and pregnant and apparently terrible at reading people. I think I'm done with romance. Maya was quiet for a moment. Don't make that decision right now. You're hurt and angry, and that's completely understandable. But don't close yourself off to the possibility of finding real love someday. How do I ever trust my judgment? Again, I was completely blindsided by this, Maya. I had no idea. You had suspicions, you investigated, you found the truth. That doesn't sound like someone with terrible judgment. That sounds like someone who trusted her instincts and acted on them. As they walked back to the car, Sophia felt something she hadn't expected: hope. Not for her marriage that was over, not for Ethan, he'd made his choice, but for herself, for her future, for the possibility that losing everything might actually be the beginning of something better. Maya. Yeah. When we get home, I want to start the divorce proceedings immediately, and I want to accept that reality show deal. Really, why? Sophia smiled for the first time in days. Because I want to document my comeback. I want other women going through this to see that life doesn't end when your husband leaves you for someone younger. It evolves into something stronger. The billionaire's pregnant wife's astonishing comeback. Something like that. Think it'll make good television. Honey, it's going to be the best television ever made. As they drove away from Monterey, leaving Ethan and his new life behind, Sophia felt like she was driving toward her real future, uncertain, challenging but entirely her own. The ocean doesn't apologize for its storms, and neither should a woman fighting for her future. The first thing Sophia did when she returned to Chicago was call her lawyer. Janet Morrison had handled her first divorce 15 years ago and had been a trusted friend ever since. She was exactly the kind of attorney Sophia needed: brilliant, aggressive, and utterly unsympathetic to cheating husbands. I'm not surprised, Janet said when Sophia finished explaining the situation. I've been practicing family law for 25 years, and I can spot a midlife crisis affair from a mile away. The younger woman, the business partnership, the expensive house, it's like they're all reading from the same playbook. How bad is this going to be? For him, very bad. Illinois is not a friendly state for adulterous husbands, especially when there's significant financial misconduct involved. Buying property with a girlfriend while married, that's going to cost him dearly. I don't want to destroy him. I just want what's fair. Sophie, he destroyed himself. We're just going to make sure you get what you're entitled to. Now tell me about your financial situation. They spent 2 hours going through bank statements, investment accounts, and business records. The picture that emerged was complicated. While Sophia had maintained her own successful business and financial independence, much of their wealth was tied up in Ethan's development projects. The good news is that you have significant assets in your own name, Janet explained. The business, your investment portfolio, the condo you owned before the marriage. The challenging part is going to be determining what portion of his projects you're entitled to, including the Monterey project, especially the Monterey project. If he used marital assets to fund that development, you have a claim to the profits. The fact that he's now partnered with his girlfriend complicates things, but it doesn't eliminate your rights. Sophia felt a grim satisfaction. Ethan and Vanessa might think they were building their future together, but that future was going to include a significant financial obligation to the wife Ethan had betrayed. There's something else, Janet said carefully. The pregnancy changes the calculation considerably. Child support, custody arrangements, the impact on your earning capacity, all of that needs to be factored in. He said he wants to be involved in the baby's life. Do you want him to be? The question caught Sophia off guard. She'd been so focused on the betrayal, the divorce, the logistics of ending her marriage, that she hadn't really considered what kind of father she wanted Ethan to be. I don't know, she said honestly. I want this child to have a father, but I don't want to spend the next 18 years dealing with Ethan and Vanessa as a couple. I don't want my child growing up thinking that kind of behavior is acceptable in a relationship. We'll figure it out. For now, let's focus on protecting your interests and securing your future. The rest can be decided later. After the meeting with Janet, Sophia drove to the office where Maya was waiting with coffee and a carefully neutral expression. How did it go? Janet thinks I'm going to come out of this just fine financially. Apparently, cheating husbands who buy houses with their girlfriends don't fare well in divorce court. Good. And emotionally, Sophia considered the question. 2 days ago, she'd been a happily married woman expecting her first child. Now she was separated, planning a divorce and preparing to become a single mother. She should be devastated. Instead, she felt liberated. I think I'm okay, she said, surprising herself. I think I'm actually going to be okay. Really, Lee? Really, for the first time in months, I'm not wondering where Ethan is or who he's with or why he seems distant. I know where he is, he's with Vanessa. I know who he's with, his girlfriend. And I know why he seemed distant, because he was planning to leave me. Maya smiled. You sound relieved. I am relieved. The uncertainty was killing me. Now I know what I'm dealing with, and I can make plans accordingly. Speaking of plans, I have news about the reality show. Good news or bad news? Depends on your perspective. They want to start filming immediately. They think the timing is perfect. Successful woman facing divorce and pregnancy, simultaneously rebuilding her life from the ground up. The idea of cameras documenting her most vulnerable moments made Sophia's stomach clench. But Maya was right about the timing. If she was going to reinvent herself, she might as well do it publicly, showing other women that it was possible to not just survive, but thrive after betrayal. What would the commitment look like? 6 months of filming, roughly 20 hours a week. They'd follow you through the divorce proceedings, the pregnancy, the business challenges, everything. In exchange, you get a significant fee, plus a percentage of any merchandising or book deals that come out of it. Book deals. Sophie, you're about to become the poster child for late-in-life empowerment. Publishers are going to be fighting over your story. The thought was both thrilling and terrifying. Sophia had always been a private person, someone who kept her personal struggles to herself. But maybe this was bigger than her own comfort level. Maybe other women needed to see that it was possible to start over at any age. Okay, she said, let's do it. Really, but I have conditions. No filming during medical appointments unless I specifically agree. No cameras in my home unless I approve the specific scenes, and I want approval over the final edit. I'll negotiate those terms. Sophie, are you sure about this? No, but I'm sorry that I want to control my own narrative, and I'm sure that if I'm going to go through this publicly, I want it to help other women who might be facing the same situation. Maya grinned. I love this version of you. What version? Fierce Sophia, no bullshit, take no prisoners Sophia. She's been hiding under supportive wife Sophia for too long. Before Sophia could respond, her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Hi Sophia, this is Vanessa Chen. I wanted to reach out personally to see if we could talk. I know this situation is complicated, but I think we could work something out that's good for everyone, especially the baby. I'll be in Chicago tomorrow. Coffee, Sophia showed the message to Maya, who read it with a frown. She's trying to control the narrative, Maya said immediately. She wants to position herself as the reasonable one, the woman who tried to handle things maturely. Or maybe she genuinely wants to talk. Sophie, this woman has been sleeping with your husband for 3 months. She doesn't get to play the role of concerned friend now. But despite Maya's warnings, Sophia found herself curious about what Vanessa wanted to say. What could she possibly think they had to discuss? What kind of arrangement could be good for everyone? I'm going to meet with her, Sophia said. Are you insane? Maybe, but I want to hear what she has to say. I want to look her in the eye and see what kind of person does what she did. Sophie, no good can come of this. You're probably right, but I need to do it anyway. Maya was quiet for a long moment. Okay, but I'm coming with you. Maya, not to the meeting, but I'm going to be nearby, and you're going to wear a wire. A wire, your phone, recording app. Whatever she says, we're going to have it documented. If she's planning to threaten you or manipulate you or say anything that could be used in the divorce proceedings, we're going to have proof. Sophia nodded slowly. Maya was right. This wasn't a social meeting between potential friends. This was a strategic conversation between adversaries, and she needed to treat it as such. She typed back, tomorrow at 2 p.m. Starbucks on Michigan Avenue near my office. The response came back immediately. Perfect, looking forward to meeting you properly. This is going to work out great for everyone. The exclamation points and cheerful tone made Sophia's teeth itch. Either Vanessa Chen was genuinely deluded about the situation, or she was a master manipulator who thought she could charm her way out of any consequences. Tomorrow, Sophia would find out which. That evening, Sophia sat in her penthouse looking around at the life she'd built with Ethan. The wedding photos, the expensive art, the carefully chosen furniture. All of it felt like artifacts from someone else's life. Her phone rang. Ethan. She considered not answering, but curiosity won. Hi. Sophie, thank God, I've been trying to reach you all day. I've been busy, lawyer meetings, that sort of thing. There was a pause. You're really going through with the divorce? What did you think would happen, Ethan? You're in love with another woman. You bought a house with her. What exactly were you expecting? I was hoping we could work something out, for the baby's sake. The baby deserves better than parents who are together out of obligation. So that's it. 4 years of marriage and you're just going to throw it away. The audacity of the statement left Sophia momentarily speechless. I'm throwing it away, Ethan. You're the one who had an affair. You're the one who lied to me for months. You're the one who chose someone else. I know. But people make mistakes, Sophie. Can't we try counseling? Can't we at least try to save our marriage? Do you love her? Silence. Do you love Vanessa, Ethan? Yes, he said quietly. Then there's nothing to save. You can't be married to one woman while you're in love with another. That's not how marriage works. But the baby will be fine. Millions of children grow up in divorced families and turn out perfectly normal. Our child will have two parents who love them, even if those parents aren't together. Sophie, please, can't we at least try? For just a moment, Sophia wavered. This man had been the love of her life. They'd built dreams together, planned a future, created a child. Was she giving up too easily? Then she remembered the kiss she'd witnessed outside the Monterey house. The tenderness in it, the obvious intimacy. That wasn't a mistake or a moment of weakness. That was a man who'd found where he wanted to be. No, Ethan, we can't try, it's over. I'm going to regret this for the rest of my life. Yes, you probably are, but that's not my problem anymore. After she hung up, Sophia felt a strange sense of peace. The conversation she'd been dreading for days was over and the sky hadn't fallen. The world hadn't ended. She was still standing, still breathing, still capable of making decisions and moving forward. Her hand went to her stomach where the baby was growing steadily. In 6 months, she would be a mother. In 6 months, she would be responsible for a tiny human being who would depend on her for everything. The thought should have been terrifying. Instead, it felt like the beginning of an adventure. She pulled out her laptop and started typing, "Sometimes the life you planned isn't the life you're meant to live. Sometimes betrayal becomes the catalyst for transformation. Sometimes losing everything is the only way to discover what you're really made of." It was the beginning of her book, the story she would tell about reinventing herself at 49, about finding strength in the aftermath of betrayal, about building a future that was entirely her own. As she wrote, Sophia realized that for the first time in months, she was excited about tomorrow. The meeting with Vanessa Chen was set for 2 p.m., but Sophia arrived early to claim a strategic table with a clear view of the entrance. Maya was stationed at a table across the cafe, laptop open, ostensibly working, but actually providing backup and moral support. Vanessa arrived exactly on time, and Sophia had to admit that she was even more beautiful in person than in her photos. She was tall and elegant, with a kind of effortless style that suggested expensive personal shopping. She wore a cream-colored blazer over dark jeans, minimal jewelry, and a warm smile that seemed genuine. "Sophia, thank you so much for meeting with me." Vanessa slid into the chair across from her, placing a designer handbag on the table. "I have to say you're even more lovely than your photos." Ethan wasn't exaggerating. The casual reference to Ethan discussing her with his girlfriend made Sophia's jaw clench, but she kept her expression neutral. "Thank you for coming. I have to admit, I'm curious about what you wanted to discuss." "Well, obviously this whole situation is complicated and delicate, but I think we're both intelligent women who can work together to find a solution that's best for everyone involved. Everyone involved. You, me, Ethan, and most importantly, the baby." Vanessa's smile brightened. Congratulations, by the way. You must be so excited about becoming a mother. There was something about the way she said it, not quite condescending but definitely patronizing, that made Sophia's skin crawl. I am excited, though I have to say the circumstances aren't what I expected when we planned this pregnancy. Of course not, and I want you to know that none of this was intentional. Ethan and I certainly didn't plan to fall in love. But you did fall in love. We did. Vanessa's expression became softer, more vulnerable. I know that's painful for you to hear, but I think honesty is the best policy, don't you? Sophia activated the recording app on her phone, keeping it casual as she placed the device on the table. Absolutely, I appreciate honesty. Good, because I want to be completely transparent with you about what we're hoping for going forward. Ethan and we've talked extensively about how to handle this situation in a way that minimizes damage to everyone involved. How thoughtful of you. If Vanessa detected the sarcasm, she didn't show it. We know this is going to be difficult, especially with the baby coming, but we think we found a solution that could work for everyone. I'm listening. Vanessa leaned forward, her expression earnest. Ethan wants to be a father, obviously, and I want to support him in that. So we're hoping that we can work out a custody arrangement that allows him to be fully involved in the child's life while also respecting your role as the mother. That sounds reasonable. I'm so glad you think so. We were also thinking that it might be helpful if I could be involved in some capacity. Not as a replacement for you, of course, but as a supportive presence in the child's life. Sophia felt her blood pressure rising. Supportive presence. Well, Ethan and I are planning to get married once your divorce is finalized, so I'll be the child's stepmother. I thought it might be nice if we could establish a positive relationship from the beginning. The casual announcement of their marriage plans hit Sophia like a slap, not because she wanted Ethan back, but because of the sheer audacity of this woman sitting across from her, calmly discussing her plans to marry Sophia's husband and raise Sophia's child. How generous of you, Sophia managed. I'm also hoping we might be able to coordinate our living situations in a way that makes co-parenting easier. Maybe find you a nice place close to our house in Monterey so the child can go back and forth easily. You want me to move to Monterey? Not permanently, of course, but maybe a vacation home. Ethan mentioned that you love the ocean, and it would be so convenient for everyone if we were all in the same area. Sophia stared at her, trying to process the enormity of what Vanessa was suggesting. She wanted Sophia to relocate her entire life to accommodate their affair. She wanted to dictate the terms of Sophia's divorce custody arrangement and future living situation. Vanessa, can I ask you something? Of course. Do you have any children of your own? Not yet, but Ethan and I are hoping to start a family together soon. It would be wonderful for your child to have siblings close in age. The casual mention of their plans to have children together while Sophia was still pregnant with Ethan's first child was the final straw. Let me make sure I understand this correctly, Sophia said, her voice deadly calm. You want me to agree to a custody arrangement that makes it convenient for you and Ethan. You want me to relocate to be near the house that you stole my husband to. You want to position yourself as a mother figure to my child. And you want me to be supportive while you and Ethan start having children of your own. When you put it like that, it sounds insane. It sounds like the fantasy of a deluded woman who thinks she can orchestrate everyone else's life to suit her convenience. Vanessa's smile faltered slightly. I understand you're emotional about this situation. Emotional. Sophia laughed, surprised by the genuinely amused sound. Vanessa, I'm not emotional. I'm astounded. I'm sitting here listening to the woman who destroyed my marriage explain how she thinks I should rearrange my life to make things easier for her. I didn't destroy your marriage. Ethan and I fell in love. These things happen. These things happen when people make choices. You chose to pursue a married man. Ethan chose to have an affair. Those weren't accidents or acts of fate, they were decisions. Look, I understand that you're hurt. I'm not hurt, Vanessa. I'm done with this conversation, done with Ethan, and done pretending that any of this is civilized or reasonable. Sophia stood up, gathering her things. My lawyer will be in touch about the divorce proceedings. The custody arrangement will be determined by the court, not by you. And if you think I'm going to uproot my life to make co-parenting convenient for you, You're even more delusional than I thought. Sophia, wait. But Sophia was already walking away feeling lighter with every step. Behind her, she could hear Vanessa calling her name, trying to salvage the conversation, but she didn't turn around. Maya caught up with her outside the cafe. How did it go? Even better than I expected. I got everything on tape, including her admission that they're planning to get married and have children together, plus a lovely recording of her trying to manipulate me into moving to Monterey to make their lives easier. Seriously, seriously, Janet is going to love this. As they walked back to the office, Sophia felt a surge of energy she hadn't experienced in months. The conversation with Vanessa had crystallized something important. She wasn't the victim in this situation. She was a woman with resources, intelligence, and the determination to build whatever future she wanted. Ethan and Vanessa could have their clifftop romance and their carefully planned life. Sophia was going to build something better, a life that was entirely her own, with a child who would grow up understanding the difference between love and manipulation, between commitment and convenience. Maya, yeah. Call the reality show people. Tell them we're ready to start filming. Really, really, I want to document every step of this comeback. I want other women to see that being betrayed at 49 isn't the end of the story, it's the beginning of the best chapter. As they reached the office building, Sophia caught her reflection in the glass doors. She looked different, stronger, more determined, more alive than she had in months. The billionaire's pregnant wife was about to become something much more interesting, a woman who refused to be anyone's consolation prize. They say revenge is a dish best served cold, but I prefer mine served with a side of success and a garnish of grace. The reality show cameras arrived on a Tuesday morning in November, just as Chicago was settling into its familiar pre-winter gloom. Sophia stood at her office window, watching the production crew unload equipment from their trucks, and felt a flutter of nervousness that had nothing to do with her pregnancy. Second thoughts? Maya asked, appearing with herbal tea and a concerned expression. Third and fourth thoughts, but I'm still doing it. The producer, Kelly Martinez, was an energetic woman in her early 40s who'd made her reputation documenting the lives of successful women facing major transitions. She'd won an Emmy for a series about female entrepreneurs starting over after divorce, and her pitch for Sophia's story had been both compelling and respectful. The narrative arc is perfect, Kelly had explained during their first meeting. Successful woman, unexpected pregnancy, husband's betrayal, public divorce, and ultimate triumph. It's exactly the kind of story that resonates with our demographic. Now, as Kelly and her crew took over the conference room for a final planning session, Sophia wondered if she was making a terrible mistake. Her life was about to become public property, her most vulnerable moments captured on camera for the entertainment of strangers. Remember, Kelly said as they prepared for the first official interview, we're not looking for you to be perfect. We want authentic moments, real emotions, genuine reactions. The audience needs to see your humanity. Sophia nodded, settling into the chair they'd positioned by the window. The natural light was flattering, and the Chicago skyline provided an impressive backdrop. Every detail had been carefully planned to convey success, strength, and urban sophistication. Let's start with the basics, Kelly said once the cameras were rolling. Tell us about your life before everything changed. 6 months ago, I thought I had it all figured out. Sophia began, surprised by how steady her voice sounded. Successful business-loving marriage, and then the miracle of an unexpected pregnancy at 49. I felt like the luckiest woman in the world. When did you first suspect something was wrong? Looking back, there were signs for months. Ethan traveling more than usual, being secretive about his phone, seeming distracted when we were together. But I was dealing with morning sickness and first trimester fatigue, so I attributed his behavior to work stress. What was the moment you knew for certain? Sophia paused, remembering that awful day in Monterey. I saw them together, my husband and his girlfriend, kissing in the doorway of the house they'd bought together. All the suspicions, all the evidence I'd been trying to rationalize, suddenly it was undeniable. How did that feel? Devastating, but also strangely relieving. I'd been gaslighting myself for months, wondering if I was being paranoid or overly emotional. Seeing the truth, as painful as it was, meant I could finally stop pretending everything was fine. The interview continued for 2 hours, covering the discovery of the affair, the confrontation with Ethan, the decision to file for divorce. Sophia found herself being more honest than she'd expected, describing not just the events, But the emotions, the humiliation, the anger, the fear of facing single motherhood at 49. What's next for you? Kelly asked as they wrapped up. Next, I rebuild. I'm not just surviving this betrayal. I'm using it as a catalyst to create a life that's bigger and better than anything I had before. After the crew left, Sophia felt emotionally drained but oddly exhilarated. Telling her story out loud, claiming ownership of her narrative, felt like an act of power rather than vulnerability. How was that? Maya asked. Harder than I expected, but also empowering. I think this is going to be good for me, and good for other women going through similar situations. Sophia's phone buzzed with a text from Janet Morrison. Excellent news. Ethan's financial disclosure came in. He's in worse shape than we thought, which means better leverage for us. What kind of worse shape? Sophia called Janet immediately. The Monterey project is hemorrhaging money. Despite the partnership with the Chen family, they're behind schedule and over budget. Ethan has personally guaranteed several loans, and if the project fails, he could lose everything, including the house he bought with Vanessa. Including that house. Sophie, there's a real possibility that Ethan could end up bankrupt from this affair. The irony wasn't lost on her. Ethan had betrayed his marriage for a business partnership that was failing anyway. He'd chosen Vanessa over Sophia, and now that choice might cost him everything. What does this mean for the divorce? It means we're in an excellent negotiating position. Ethan needs a quick, clean settlement that protects him from further financial exposure. We can get you everything you want and probably more. I don't want to destroy him, Janet. I just want what's fair. Sophie, he destroyed himself. We're just making sure you don't go down with the ship. That evening, Sophia sat in her penthouse, looking through the ultrasound photos from her latest appointment. At 16 weeks, the baby was clearly visible. Tiny hands, perfect profile, undeniably real. Dr. Martinez had confirmed that everything was developing normally, and they'd even been able to determine the sex. A girl. Sophia was going to have a daughter. The thought filled her with a fierce protectiveness and an unexpected sense of purpose. This little girl would grow up knowing her worth, understanding her strength, seeing what it looked like when a woman refused to accept less than she deserved. Her phone rang. Ethan. She almost didn't answer, but curiosity won. Hi. Sophie, we need to talk. About what? About the divorce. About the baby. About figuring out how to move forward. I thought we were handling all of that through our lawyers. Can't we try to work something out directly for old time's sake? The phrase old time's sake made her want to laugh, as if their 4-year marriage was some nostalgic memory instead of a recent betrayal. What did you have in mind? I'd like to see you in person. There are things I want to say that can't be said over the phone or through lawyers. Against her better judgment, Sophia found herself curious. What things? Apologies, explanations, plans for how we handle co-parenting. Ethan, you chose Vanessa. You chose the business partnership. You chose a life that doesn't include me. What exactly is there left to discuss? Our daughter. The words hit her like a physical blow. He knew. Somehow he'd found out about the baby's sex. How do you know? Your mother mentioned it when I called to ask about you. Sophie, I'm going to be the father of a little girl. That changes everything for me. It should have changed everything months ago when you first found out I was pregnant. I know I handled this badly, but I want to be a good father, Sophie. I want to be part of her life. And Vanessa, is she planning to be part of her life too? There was a pause. Vanessa and I were taking some time to figure things out. What does that mean? It means the business partnership isn't working out the way we expected. It means we're both reassessing our priorities. Sophia felt a surge of vindictive satisfaction. The affair that had destroyed her marriage was falling apart. The business deal that had been worth betraying his wife for was failing. Ethan was discovering that there were consequences to his choices. I'm sorry to hear that, she said, not meaning it at all. Sophie, can I see you? Please, I know I don't deserve it, but I'm asking anyway. Why, Mona? Because I love you, because I made the biggest mistake of my life, and I want to try to fix it. The words she'd once longed to hear now felt empty, too late. You can't fix this, Ethan. Can I try? Sophia thought about it for a long moment. Part of her was curious to see him, to understand what had driven him to destroy their marriage for a relationship that was apparently already crumbling. Part of her wanted to look him in the eye and show him what he'd lost. Okay, she said finally, but not here, and not alone. We'll meet at the lawyer's office with Janet present. Sophie, those are my terms. Take them or leave them. I'll take them. After they hung up, Sophia called Maya. He wants to reconcile. What? Ethan, he called to say he made a mistake and wants to fix things. And you said, I said we could meet at Janet's office with lawyers present. Good girl. What do you think brought this on? I think the business partnership with Vanessa is falling apart, and he's realizing that he destroyed his marriage for nothing. Are you tempted to reconcile, I mean? Sophia considered the question honestly. 6 months ago, if Ethan had come back apologetic and repentant, she would have been overjoyed. But 6 months ago, she hadn't known what it felt like to stand completely on her own. She hadn't experienced the fierce independence that came with making her own decisions, controlling her own narrative, building her own future. No, she said, surprising herself with the certainty in her voice. I'm not tempted at all. Really, whatever we had is over. I'm not interested in being someone's backup plan or consolation prize. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of me too. The meeting with Ethan took place 3 days later in Janet's downtown office. Sophia arrived early, wanting to claim her psychological space before he showed up. She'd chosen her outfit carefully, a navy dress that flattered her growing belly, professional, but not severe, successful, but not intimidating. When Ethan walked in with his lawyer, Sophia was struck by how different he looked. Thinner, older, with stress lines around his eyes that hadn't been there 6 months ago. He was still handsome, still charming, but there was a defeated quality to his posture that she'd never seen before. Sophie, he said softly, and for a moment she could see the man she'd fallen in love with 4 years ago, Ethan. They sat across from each other at Janet's conference table, lawyers flanking them like bodyguards. It felt formal, adversarial, nothing like the intimate conversation Ethan had probably been hoping for. Thank you for agreeing to meet, Ethan began. I know I don't deserve your time or consideration, but I appreciate it anyway. What did you want to say? First, I want to apologize, not just for the affair, but for the way I handled everything. The lies, the deception, the complete lack of respect for you and our marriage. You deserve so much better. Yes, I did. I want you to know that what happened with Vanessa, it wasn't about you. It wasn't because you weren't enough or because our marriage was lacking. I was facing the potential failure of the biggest project of my career, and I made stupid, desperate decisions, including starting a relationship with your business partner, including that, and buying a house with her and lying to you about my feelings and letting you find out the way you did. All of it was wrong, and I regret it more than I can express. Sophia studied his face, looking for signs of deception or manipulation. But he seemed genuinely remorseful, genuinely devastated by the consequences of his choices. What about Vanessa? She asked. Ethan's expression darkened. The business partnership is over. The personal relationship is over. I'm trying to extricate myself from the whole situation as cleanly as possible. What happened? I realized that she was more interested in the development deal than in me. When the project started having serious problems, she began distancing herself. Turns out her family's investment was contingent on certain benchmarks that we're not going to meet. So she's pulling out. She's protecting her family's interests, which I understand, but it means I'm left holding the bag on a project that's probably going to fail. Janet leaned forward. What kind of exposure are we talking about? Ethan's lawyer answered. Significant. Mr. Reynolds personally guaranteed several construction loans. If the project is canceled, he could be liable for upwards of $30 million. Sophia felt a chill. $30 million was more than Ethan's net worth. If the project failed completely, he could lose everything: the penthouse, the investment portfolio, the business itself. Which brings us to why we're here, Ethan said quietly. Sophie, I know I have no right to ask this, but I need your help. What kind of help? I want us to try again. I want to save our marriage, be a real family, raise our daughter together. But I need time to sort out this financial mess without having to deal with a contentious divorce. The request hung in the air like a toxic cloud. Ethan wanted her to take him back, not because he loved her, but because he needed her resources and her cooperation to avoid bankruptcy. Let me make sure I understand, Sophia said, her voice deadly calm. You want me to reconcile with you so that you can use our marital assets to cover the debts you incurred while cheating on me? It's not like that. What is it like? It's like I made terrible mistakes and I'm hoping the woman I love might be willing to help me fix them so we can build a future together. The woman you love. Sophia repeated the phrase with something like wonder. Ethan, if you loved me, you wouldn't have had an affair.